Welcome home to Homespun, a weekly internet gathering of family, friends, and businesses from Platte County. Our purpose is to connect our community and showcase the colorful threads that run through our tapestry. Grab a warm cup of hometown goodness, sit back, put your feet up, and visit with us a while. I'm your host, Mark DeLapp, and I bring to you portions of interviews from some of our own. Welcome home, Platte County, to Homespun. We're here on Homespun with Robert and Julie Balzan, correct?
Balzan.
Balzan. B-A-L-Z-A-N. All right. And they're a very interesting couple here who were teachers and now raise Longhorn cattle here. And we're not even on the Chisholm Trail, but I just asked Julie, I said, who are you sitting on? It was one of their babies that after it had died, they use the skin, so they don't know who they're sitting on, but it's interesting. And then on the wall over there, they've got a skull. And I said, "Did you know that cow?" And they go, "Oh yeah, we knew that cow." So it's like most people don't have their dead relatives hanging on walls, but it's interesting here that people that buy things like the Longhorns, they were once named if they come from your ranch. Yep. And let's jump back a little bit. Robert, let's go with you first. Where were you born?
I was born in Torrington, Wyoming, but I grew up in Sunrise, Wyoming.
Okay. And tell me a little bit. You were telling me a little bit about the Sunrise.
My dad was a miner.
Okay.
Actually, we're the last family to live there before they sold it and changed operations. The farm was in Pueblo, is where the bosses were. In Pueblo, CF&I Steel. And Dad was there 40 years mining.
Wow.
Your house is still there.
Our house is still there. It's one of the brick ones, and it's still there. There used to be 3, and there's 2 there now.
So your dad must have been like one of the higher ups in the mine.
He was. He was one of the bosses.
Okay, because the bosses.
He was the superintendent.
Yeah, the bosses' houses are still there, but they tore everything else down up on the hills. Which
is a shame, because we had one of the nicest schools ever, and they tore it down. It was brick. It's actually as nice as the Wheatland schools right now.
Huh. And they had a really nice hospital here.
Yes, they did. That's where Dad was born. It's in that hospital.
Your dad was born in that hospital?
Mm-hmm.
Now, did your grandfather work the mine then too?
Mm-hmm. No,
so,
yep.
Did you get a chance to work mines, or were you too young?
I was too young. My brother did.
Okay.
He was on the Grizzlies, which went underground and broke rock.
Okay. So, actually, that mine actually ended back in the 80s, correct? They pulled out. What was the last year? Do you remember when they pulled out of there?
82, I think.
Okay. And then they pretty much let everything go there.
They did, and they just started tearing everything down.
Yeah, and the sad thing about it was because of the tax reasons, because they taxed structures here in Wyoming.
Yeah, well, that place wasn't ever owned by, it was always rented.
Okay.
Everything was owned by Pueblo.
Okay.
The bosses.
Sure.
So it wasn't ever really a town, it was always a camp.
Okay. And they had their own store there.
Oh, yeah.
Bowling alley. Do you remember
YMCA?
YMCA? Do you remember bowling at the bowling alley there?
I remember setting up pins.
Really?
You get the back and you had to hand set them on the dots.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Or the old Brunswick pin setters weren't operational at that point.
No.
Wow, that was amazing. And then I got some great pictures of the gymnasium up there.
Yep.
And of course, Shauna Reichert, who's the head of our chamber here, so she's seen the ghost up there of the caretaker. So I don't know about that, but yeah. So, but it's quite an interesting place.
It's very interesting. There's so much history. I mean, and they're starting to dig and get the history. I mean, some of the first land out of the ocean in the world is there.
Wow.
That mountain, Hartville Range, is just to the east of that. It was the first one out.
Huh.
And so that tells you why there's so many artifacts, so many.
Sure.
As a kid, we roamed those hills and found arrowheads and bones and crustaceans from the ocean. I mean, just found everything.
That mine predominantly, was that an iron ore mine? Yes. But it had red ochre, correct?
Yes.
Red ochre mine,
Yep.
Which was very valuable at the time.
It was. It's one of the highest ones in the nation. It was one of the best deals.
Right. And then John said that there's, up at the top of that hill, overlooking the mine, they have 3 50-foot diameter circles, cement circles up there. Nobody really knows what they were.
I don't know.
I don't know if they knew that that was back from the Native American days that they did.
I don't know. Might have been.
But they have these beautiful cement circles up there with crushed red ochre in it, and it's unbelievable. So they're thinking it probably was used for some religious system or whatever. But what was it like growing up in Sunrise?
I very much enjoyed it. And the reason is, Sunrise, we had all people. We're Italians, but we had Greeks, we had Jewish people, we had black people,
Chinese people.
Chinese. So it was kind of a conglomerate of everybody. So prejudice wasn't a word we even heard. We did things together, and we were good. The bad thing is I was the first class that didn't get to go to school in Sunrise. I had to go to Guernsey because they consolidated, and that didn't make me very happy.
What? So you went to Sunrise School until?
I didn't go to Sunrise School.
At all?
At
okay.
all.
So you
I
went
just played the gym and stuff, but I didn't get to go to school there.
Okay.
In my first year of kindergarten, we had to go to Guernsey, and I still dislike Guernsey for that, and I razz about it.
Yeah, and your dad ended up. Did he go to Guernsey, or did he go to Sunrise School?
Sunrise School.
And your brother did.
My brother went part in Sunrise.
Okay. And how old are you, Robert?
61.
61. You're still a youngster.
Yes.
And so, Julie, do I dare ask you? Usually, not supposed to ask women how old they are.
Oh, I'm 58.
Okay. So you guys kind of grew up in that same era.
Not same era, but I didn't grow up there.
No.
So.
No. Which leads me to you. Where did you grow up, Julie?
I was born in Kansas. Well, my parents were at college. So I'm.
They were at college. What do you mean?
My parents
going to college?
Going to college, and they were students at college in Emporia State, in Kansas, and we used to. I don't know. They had classmates, and we lived in this house, and the kids played together, and the parents studied, and then they watched each other's kids, so somebody else went to class, and I got to do a lot of grandparent time. I had grandparents who had a farm in Kansas, and so when it was time for finals and stuff, I got to go stay at my grandma's a lot. So that was a bunch of fun. So
you picked up some farming experience when you were young then?
Yeah, I think before I was 8.
Okay. And where did you get your experience, Robert, as far as working on the farm?
I have cousins. Tony Teslin is my first cousin. His mom, my dad were brother sisters.
Okay.
So I grew up around the agriculture because of him.
Okay. So they gave you kind of a feeling for it.
Spent your summers.
I spent my summers on his place for him.
As a ranch hand.
Yeah. See, that's kind of what I did. You grew up in Milwaukee, in a suburb of Milwaukee, but Grandpa's farm, and that's where you learn the value of hard work.
Yep. Very much.
It made me real proud this last week during the fair, especially during the national anthem, that you didn't see anybody kneeling. You saw the kids with their hands over their hearts, and they're singing along, and it was something. These kids are not entitled at all. These kids know what it is to work here.
Oh, yes.
It's a really nice place. I taught here for 26 years. It's a marvelous place, community to teach in.
Sure.
Because everyone values education, and everyone's kind to everyone, and the kids respect authority, and they respect hard work, and you know those kids have done chores before they ever come to school. And then they go home, or they do sports practice after school, and they go home and they probably still have chores.
Yep.
And it's just ag communities are just, it makes it easy. I've taught in 2 ag communities and a mining community, more transient community,
right.
And the kids are just different.
Sure.
It's not that the other ones are bad, but the ag kids are they're much more respectful.
I think they're a lot wiser as far as time management, simply because There's never really any downtime.
Well, and they have a work ethic, and they appreciate new knowledge, and I think maybe families do a lot together.
Sure.
And so it's just the way those kids are raised.
Yeah, I think that plays in real big. Like you said, their work ethic is absolutely incredible, and they, teaching, I think, in an agricultural area is a lot easier. And I have my degree in education. It's the same thing. The idea of teaching in an agricultural area, because if you discipline them at school, they're going to go home and get disciplined at home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're very supported.
Yeah, you're very supported.
And then if you stay long enough, you get to teach their children, and they're like, "Oh, my dad told me about you." And I'm like, "Your dad is a wise man."
So Julie, what did you teach?
I taught family and consumer science. We called it life skills at the middle school.
And where did you go to college to get your degree?
Laramie, University of Wyoming.
Okay. And Robert?
University of Wyoming. Mm-hmm.
So that leads me to the $64 million question. Where did you guys meet, and how did you meet? And I usually ask the woman about this because they usually they'll tell the truth and the whole truth and nothing but the truth. So Julie,
I get that one.
There you go.
So how did you meet?
We were teachers in KC. He was the science teacher. So when I taught nutrition, of course.
Teaching in where?
In KC, Wyoming.
Okay.
An hour north of Casper.
Okay. Usually when you say KC, especially being down
Kansas
around
City. That's right.
around Iowa, it's like, oh, you're talking about Kansas City. Okay, you're talking about the town of KC.
Town of KC, like Chris Ledoux's
area. Sure. Okay.
In fact, we taught Chris Ledoux's son.
Oh my gosh.
Yep. And we taught Deke Latham, and he came on his way home from the National Finals Rodeo. He was killed in a car accident, hit a deer when he was almost home.
That was sad.
So that was a tragic
Sure.
thing in the school. Affected the whole community.
Right.
That was tough. But had wonderful kids, wonderful experience. We met there. Robert was the head basketball coach, and he needed an assistant. And he had a gal, myself and a gal who had played at college were interested in that position. And he put the more experienced gal at the middle school, and then he took me, who would need help, because I didn't play basketball at college. So I was the less experienced one, so I was his assistant. And,
for basketball?
For basketball. Mm-hmm.
And she had no experience. Those are sometimes the best assistants, aren't they? You can groom them the way you want them.
That's true. Very true.
And so what did you learn from your years of coaching with your husband? Your husband-to-be, I should say.
Yeah, we didn't know anything about that yet.
Kids just, you're coaching kids, and they just give you all their heart. And they just,
Yeah, they do.
and they know you forever. I still see them on Facebook, and some of them I think they haven't aged a bit. There's a couple sisters,
Sure.
and you see them. It's like, wow, you guys just look like you did when you were in high school. Some very cool people. We've been invited back to KC for a family's 100th ranch celebration.
Oh my.
We still have a close friend who's from there, and so we go back and see them and watch their boys grow up. Small communities in Wyoming, I think you just get to do that.
Sure. So you coached girls basketball. Okay. And yeah, that's near and dear to my heart since I coached for 25 years basketball. So
Awesome.
Really?
I coached women's professional in Minneapolis. I coached men's JV at the University of Wisconsin.
Really?
And then I still coach 5-star during the summers at Pittsburgh and Louisville. Pittsburgh for the boys, Louisville for the girls, and then every other summer I go to Scotland and coach their national boys team over there.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, it keeps me
I still
really
know
active.
nothing about, I just like the kids.
No, that's cool. You probably know a good friend
That's
that coached in
spectacular.
Louisville too, Pat Rafferty.
Absolutely.
I grew up with him. He grew up in Sunrise.
No kidding.
Yes, that's how I know him, from Sunrise. And his dad was a coach that went to Buffalo, Wyoming.
Wow.
So yeah.
I had. I'm really old school. I mean, I got to work with Wooden for a summer, and then
He was
Valvano for a
great.
summer.
Yep.
But Don Meyer was my ultimate mentor from South Dakota State, and was at Lipscomb for many years. But yeah, I learned a lot about coaching. Learned about a lot about life from him. I think you learn a lot. Steve Kurth, who was a mentor for me in college, used to say, "I don't see a round leather sphere going through a cold iron ring." He said, "I see life in every single thing about that sport." From the time constraints to the working with a team to the knowing of your roles to the timing and I just had such great people working with me, and it became a passion. In fact, I went into teaching because I wanted to coach college basketball. That's the only thing I wanted to do, and so that's where I went. And so it's interesting. So when you guys coached, how long did you coach basketball, Robert?
Oh, in all the places we were, around 20 years.
Wow.
And
That gives you some good memories, doesn't it?
oh, great memories.
Yeah.
Some great people. I've coached some. The Bramlett boys, I coached them.
Okay.
Some good athletes.
Yeah, the difference I always have to ask coaches that have coached, would you rather coach girls or guys?
Both.
Both.
Both are different.
They are.
Guys are above the rim. Girls are more team-minded.
Yeah. Girls are a little more emotional, too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you can get in a guy's face and just get your veins sticking out of your neck and scream
Yes.
at him, and 5 minutes later he's fine. Whereas if you try that with a girl, tears come immediately, and 3 weeks later she's still holding it against
Still
you.
remembers.
Yes, they never forget. They had incredible memories. So, I'll tell you what, I'm the same way. The girls I coached were just as endearing to me as the boys I coached, and part of it is, I think, the coaching and make it like a family. Mm-hmm. So I look at you guys, and how you raise your cows like family, and I think if you raised your teams like that, they must have been almost like kids to, almost like second families to you. Mm-hmm. But back to how you met. So you were working under him as an assistant.
I guess we were peers at school, and we
were just friends.
We went on some basketball scouting trips as friends. And then one summer, he and his family, his brother, sister-in-law went to visit family in Chicago, and I got invited to go.
Yeah, I just called her up.
And
she was in Texas, and I called her up.
I was
Go with me to Chicago, and she said
in
yes.
Texas, so
what was the motivation behind that?
I think they wanted a babysitter.
I wanted to see what she would answer. I wanted to see how she'd answer that.
Just to see where her heart was. Mm-hmm. Wow, you are wise beyond your years, Sensei.
It worked. It worked well. Very
well. And so from that, so you guys kind of fell in love. Well, you were probably feeling it before that, but then you went on this trip to Chicago, and did you know right away?
No.
Not really. I think we just kind of stayed friends.
Yeah, we're just good friends.
I think it all came out of friendship. Like we were just good buds.
We liked doing everything together. We did horses together. We did a lot of stuff together.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what they say. They say if you marry your best friend, you'll be together forever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when did you go on your actual first official romantic date?
We went to South Dakota, Rapid City. We went and did something. I don't remember what the official date was, but maybe to dinner. I don't know. Something was happening in Rapid City, and he needed to take me there because he had taught in Upton.
Yeah.
And had done some things and had some friends in Upton, and he'd done some stuff in Rapid City. So, I don't know, we needed to go, saw the Black Hills, beautiful drive. Mm-hmm. I hadn't been in that part of the country.
Sure.
So, it was just a, I don't know, weekend getaway, had dinner and went sightseeing, and it was good.
So, who asked who to marry?
Asked her.
You asked her. Okay, you came from the old school family. Did you go ask her dad for his blessing?
No, I didn't, which is surprising.
Yeah, that is surprising. Knowing how we all were raised in that era, growing up in that same time period. What? Do you remember that day?
Oh yeah.
Were you nervous?
No.
No.
It was at a basketball practice.
You asked her at a basketball practice?
After practice,
around the girls.
Okay.
I can picture myself right there.
Really? What? Tell me about it.
Everything was done, and everybody had gone home, and she was coming across the stage, and I went up the stairs of the stage, and we got eye level. I said, "You know what, Julie? Will you marry me?"
Yeah, we were shutting off the lights because in a small school, you sweep the floor, shut off the lights,
do everything.
Yep.
Lock up the building, make sure all the girls are all gone.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's home. Everybody's got their homework.
Making sure there's no stragglers they have to give rides
so
to.
we were just finishing up, tidying up the gym, and
When he asked you, did it surprise you? Probably not. It did surprise you.
Yeah, because I thought we were more just kind of like the friends thing. We just keep being friends forever.
And so, what did she say?
Well, you betcha. There was no doubt. There was no doubt.
That's awesome. And so how long was the courtship before you guys got married then?
Probably a couple years.
About a year.
So then you can change the names on the programs then from assistant coach's last name being different to...
Oh yeah, so we were Mr. Coach Balzan and Mrs. Coach Balzan. Or he was Coach Balzan and I was Mrs. Balzan.
Okay.
Usually, so that they could distinguish who.
Sure, sure.
And that was fine.
Yeah.
I didn't need a coach title.
Right, right. Yeah, that's what I said. You know, they asked me what they wanted me to call me. I said, just call me Coach. That's all I need to know. And just don't call me late for dinner. That's
true. Speaking of girls, they like to eat dinner. If you have a good team, they will.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, you could. I think I cooked more food when we fed our girls' team's dinner than when we fed the boys.
Oh yeah, they just have hollow legs.
Yeah.
Of course, I had a couple girls on one team one time that I had a girl that she was about 275. You couldn't move her in the middle.
Oh, right.
And she was my enforcer out there.
Okay.
She had an attitude too, so that was good.
That was good. Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So anyway, so you guys got married, and then where were you living at that point?
In KC.
And
in teacher housing.
A trailer
that cost. I think we paid $65 a month plus utilities.
Wow.
And this was in the late 80s.
That's still pretty good for the late 80s.
I know. It was like a bargain, so we thought we were like rich. Like
yeah.
We had, you could pay off everything. No college loans, no house payment.
And from KC, then where did you go?
We went to Rollins.
Rollins. And how did you get here to Wheatland?
We were there 1 year, and then they didn't offer me the head basketball job. And I said, well,
then I guess maybe you don't want us coaching here. And so we moved to Wheatland. And we got tired. Well, we left KC because we did this triangle on every vacation. My family was in Rollins. His family was in Wheatland. And we lived in KC. And so at Christmas, we did the triangle. And at Thanksgiving, we do the triangle the other way. And then in the summer, you go visit somebody. So we were always doing this traveling. And then in KC, the kids... I guess it scared us. We wanted to have a family, and it scared me that the kids would go for prom dinner. They would drive from KC to Casper to dinner.
Always driving.
And that was an hour. Buffalo was 45 minutes, so there was a lot of driving. And so it's like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I want my kids to grow up and need to do that much driving.
Right.
And I think it was my first summer there. I went back in the summer and was at a funeral for 3 of my students who died in a car wreck, and that was really tough. So that made such an impression. I just wanted to be sure my kids didn't feel the need to drive that often.
Right.
Although when you watch kids, they still drive, and I've had some other students killed in car wrecks, and you have to go to the funeral as the teacher of that child, and that's really tough.
Yeah.
And you watch how that affects the community, and that's really tough. So we went to Rollins and tried to both become employed, and it just didn't quite work. And so around Rollins, we always wanted to have some livestock, and we had horses, and we left them in KC, and our good friends that we're still friends with cared for them. In fact, we got to watch Frank Neville win money at Cheyenne Frontier at a roping at the Frontier Park last month, and he won $15,000 in roping, and it's like, oh my gosh, there's Frank. So you go down and you talk to your former student, and he's all impressed because he's just won $15,000, at this roping,
so
and
cool.
it's like, oh, that's so cool. So we go places and see these kids all over. It's just wonderful.
Well, why Wheatland? Did you come here to teach?
Family.
Okay.
So then we only had to go travel to visit one spot instead of multiple spots.
That's kind of a good idea. And then your family moved out of Sunrise and came here to Guernsey, or to Wheatland. And did they go to Guernsey first and then to Wheatland?
Nope, just came straight.
But you went to Guernsey school.
Yeah, had to.
It's just 6 miles, so they...
Okay, I see.
They lived in Sunrise still and just went to school in Guernsey, so you had to do the 6 miles.
So you were kind of familiar with this whole area.
Oh,
and then when you came to Wheatland, what brought you to Wheatland? To teach?
Mm-hmm.
And what did you teach, Robert?
Math and science.
Math and science. Well, my son would love you. He's a big accountant for Deloitte and Touche now. So.
Awesome.
But and what did you teach?
I taught life skills.
Life skills. And how long did you guys teach there?
Here I taught 26 years in Wheatland.
Wow. And what about you, Robert?
Well, I was mostly a sub, and then I taught in Chugwater a while. I was there 3 years.
Okay.
And so and then I coached. All those years I did coach.
Sure.
So.
And you coached girls at Wheatland? Oh, wow.
Some girls, and then you coached boys.
Coached the boys at Wheatland.
Oh, and track. He was a good track coach.
Okay. That sounds great. And how did you find this place? This is a gem here. And people are looking at the pictures that we're posting here on Homespun and things like that. It's just a gorgeous, gorgeous place, you know, in the shadow of the mountains.
Yeah.
And Longhorn cattle.
Oh, yeah. We have some of the, we have really good sunsets. I just come go for a walk every evening just to see the sunset. They are all different, and they're all beautiful.
Wow, yeah.
We looked at several places the spring of 1990, and then we found this area, and then we bought another little piece, and then we bought another little piece, and so we have a little area at the end of the road, and it's just beautiful. It's just perfect.
So you got the end of the road parcels is what you bought
Yep.
out. And so, Robert, you're saying that you started off with Herefords. Here, you started off with Herefords?
That's what Tony ran, and that's what I was always around was Hereford cattle. That's how I grew up. Yeah.
And 1983 came along, and
that's when I went back to get my teaching degree, because my first degree was in wildlife.
Okay.
And then I went to get my teaching degree, and when I did that, I worked at Jimmy Greaves' place, and he was a Longhorn guru. He was kind of one of the old timers. He and
how do you spell his last name?
Greaves?
Yeah.
Grieves.
Okay. And so he kind of got you turned on to Longhorn cattle.
He did. He really did.
You know, you hear a lot about the song Michael Murphy sings called the Chisholm Trail, punching Longhorn cattle. And here we've got, you come to the end of the road here, and you see just this massive herd of Longhorn cattle. So he got you kind of into that, got you interested in it?
He did, yes he did.
What were your reasons for getting into Longhorn cattle?
Well, because I taught and would be a teacher, they were easy to take care of. You didn't really have to do anything, just had to have pasture for them. I mean, I don't doctor them really. I mean, at branding we doctor them a little bit, and that's it. And they live forever. I mean, you saw our 19-year-old, we've had several 19-year-old cows. And we have kind of all ages from 2 to 19.
Sure.
They're just easy keepers. And there's so many purposes. I mean, it's like we're sitting on one, and you can have their heads. Some people get them just for pets. Some people like to eat them. And we like to eat them.
Wait a minute, back up the truck here. For pets?
Some people do, yeah, like they'll buy like a front pasture cattle just to have, so that people make them pets, feed them by hand, and they're like a couple steers that just live in somebody's front pasture, and they're just there to look at and enjoy. And they
pretty much, do they domesticate pretty well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
I know that once we went out into the field, you've got one that's like a little dog that wants to come up to you all the time.
Wants to be in your pocket. Yeah.
So he wants to roll over and have you scratch his stomach, that kind of thing.
They do. They're very personable for a cow. They really are. They're very much thinkers. They're different cattle. If you're horseback, you better know what you're running. It's way different than an Angus or a Hereford.
Tell me about that.
Well, Longhorns think different. They have a lead cow, and they always respond to that lead cow. And as long as you get them pointed the right way, you can cover country and just go. It doesn't take forever to move them. And what we do with our little place, just go open gates, and they just automatically, they group as a herd. They don't spread out much. They're always just like you saw them there. I mean, they have 90 acres they could be in today, but they were just all together in that little grass acre.
So they're very social animals.
Very social, they are.
And driving Longhorns, other than the strays every once in a while, if you can guide that first cow, you pretty much can control the herd, correct?
Yep.
There's a definite pecking order out there. We saw that in that matriarchal cow out there that she was kind of had her eye on me the whole time,
right.
Just making sure that I was above board and that I wasn't attacking. Tell me one of the things that they do with coyotes. I thought that was interesting.
They know what predators are. I've seen them kill coyotes. They've killed cows here. One time I got my daughter, because they circled up, I said, let's go, Whitney, and see what they have. And they had an eagle down in the ditch.
And it was hawk.
Well, it was a hawk. It was a hawk. Red-tailed. So we went down and said, I want them killing that. But they had it circled. So we went down into there, and after they saw us there, they left. That hawk, I didn't know if it was damaged or not. I didn't go up to it. But we just gave them space, and in about 15 minutes, it finally flew off. But they know where the tips of those horns are. I've seen them gore coyotes. All the places we lived, at Casey especially, they lived out on Brad Neville's place, and he loved our Longhorns because I don't know how many he'd lose in a year on calves, like 25 to 30.
It was better for the
A
sheep.
lot.
The coyotes
for the sheep.
would prey on the sheep pretty good. And so our cattle, he ran cattle and sheep together, and the cattle would keep the coyotes away.
They wouldn't lose anything to coyotes.
So almost like the cows would protect the sheep then.
They protect everything around it, yeah.
Would they think they were like little calves or something?
I don't know. I think they just didn't like the coyote.
Yeah.
That's the deal.
Yeah.
Big sandhill cranes, when they land, the cows beller and they'll run and chase them off. They don't like them. Sandhill cranes must look like a predator to them, so
Sure.
they chase them off.
Sure. And as far as other natural predators around here, I know we have bears every once in a while that come through here, and mountain lions that come through here. Any other predators?
Not that we've seen.
Of course, I don't know if a predator is really going to go up against some of these longhorns.
No, they won't. They avoid.
Yeah, that's it's like you said, they're pretty precise with those horns, aren't they?
They are.
And you were telling me that they don't lose their. For those of the people that are watching this that were as ignorant about longhorns as I was, they do not lose their horns every year,
No.
like antlers.
Right.
And Julie, tell me a little bit about the natural defrosters that are in the horns.
Oh, the horns are always warm and they're always growing. There's a blood supply to the whole horn, so when it snows and we get a layer of snow on the days we don't have wind, then that ice, it melts down and makes really cool looking icicles running off the horn. But the horns all the snow melts off the horns because they stay warm, especially right next to their head. The first probably 20 inches, they still stay warm. And it's kind of an anomaly when you can grab one with your bare hand in the wintertime and it's like, oh my gosh, your horns are so warm. It's amazing.
It's like a heated steering wheel.
That, but when you watch the snow melt off, it's like, oh, I have to touch that. I have to know if it's warm. And they're warm all winter.
Oh, that's incredible. How many cows do you process per year?
That depends.
Variable.
We sell them custom to people, and then we'll process or we'll feed it like you want, so you can have fully grass fed. We sell some to people as yearlings, and then they raise them like they want.
They feed them.
And then they have their own processing system figured out. Once we sell it on the hoof to them, and then they have it processed where they want, and we can deliver within reason, close to where they're wanting it.
Sure.
It kind of varies.
And you guys have pure Longhorn, and do you have Angus mix also?
We have some Angus cross.
Okay. And what would you rather eat? The complete Angus mix or the pure Longhorn?
That's a tough question.
Well, I think it matters more how the animal is harvested. If
Okay.
they're calm
Yeah.
when they're slaughtered, if what they're fed before as they grow, how they're treated and handled as an animal, I think that has a really big impact. Longhorn Red Angus Cross has a little more marbling. If you're used to well marbled prime graded steak in a restaurant,
Sure.
you would prefer that. Some people prefer grass fed, very lean. People with heart conditions and people that have specific health issues that they're trying to accommodate with their red meat consumption. So some people very much prefer that. If you're making hamburger, I think it's all pretty much the same. I prefer my hamburger very lean. I don't like to soak grease out of the pan.
Yeah.
I don't like flare-ups on my barbecue grill, so I prefer straight Longhorn for that.
And Longhorn is pretty lean meat then.
It is a leaner meat.
A leaner meat. I wonder what that would taste like if you crossed the Longhorn with the
A
Wagyu.
Wagyu.
I bet you that
We
would
might
be.
have to try that.
I bet you that might be something. I'll have to hook you up with the beavers
There
down
we
in,
go.
or the Japanese cattle that they've got here. Brooke out of Platte Valley.
Okay.
She's got all the 100% Japanese cattle here, which is supposed to be really good too. So who knows? We can maybe get a gourmet meat thing going here in southeastern
You can
Wyoming.
taste this and taste this.
Yeah.
Have a meat tasting.
So you don't really, you kind of play it by ear as far as your processing goes and how much.
Yeah, it just depends on who's interested. The people, then they make the plan with the processor, and right now it's so tight, it's really extended out. How far? We sell some registered stock as breeding stock to people as far away as Missouri.
Okay.
We are currently in touch with someone in Georgia, so you never know who's in the market for a Longhorn,
Right.
or for cattle. And we've sold some black and dark colored bulls as heifer bulls to some people. So you just kind of play it by ear. We used to have a setup. People would come get roping steers or recreational cattle. We had a thing going for a few years. It's so diverse. Ag is so diverse.
Sure.
It changes, I think, as fast as the weather. So you just accommodate and flex and do this and then try this. And, well, hey, have you ever thought of that? And so you make a lot of good friends and you have lots of good connections, and it's always changing.
Now, Longhorns are pretty good for rodeos, for roping,
Yes.
For riding.
Oh, yes. That's kind of fun. If you ever get a chance, ride one.
Yeah. I couldn't get your husband to ride one today. So
we don't have a saddle broke one,
No.
but I have ridden one, and it's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They kind of resemble Brahmas out there, the Brahma bulls. And you've got a couple bulls up here too, so you do your own breeding here. So everybody that purchases actually from you guys knows exactly where it's bred, exactly what's done, which is why we're trying to get that push to buy Wyoming, stay in Wyoming, buy in Wyoming, keep your dollars in Wyoming.
Isn't it just nice to know where your animal came from,
Exactly.
and if it was sick or if it wasn't? People who raise animals and livestock, like the 4-H kids, they can tell you every single detail about their animal.
Right.
What they like to eat best, when they sleep, almost. You're assured of the source if you can go straight to the producer.
You can pretty much come here and get a package of meat and have the name of the cow on the meat.
Good, yes.
This is Daisy.
Right. We can
Daisy
tell
was
you
a
what the
good
name
cow.
was. Sometimes it's easier to feed them knowing they're going to become steak if you don't name them.
Yeah, my grandfather said, "Don't name your stock."
That's right.
And when we did, he'd get all upset about it. So, because he didn't want to put up with our emotions when we had to take him to the stockyard. You're primarily using a processor here in Wheatland that is booked all the way through February right now.
And that was a month and a half ago.
And that was a month and a half ago. Yeah, and so where are you guys standing on the idea of let's open up some more small mom and pop shops?
I'm in favor of it. It gives people jobs. Like, it produces a local job. It's cold, hard work, very precise. Food safety's huge, but it makes jobs for people, and then we have food.
Yeah, and I like the idea of the mom and pop shops because they take a real pride, and they have
very
more
prideful in what they do.
They have more control over what's being processed and how it's being processed than some of the bigger plants that everything is just in the assembly line.
Well, and a small processor probably is letting your animal hang. If it's processed in a great big plant, there's no time to hang it for 14 days or 21 days. That's atypical because they have such volume going through. Right,
and the stress in the processing in some of the bigger ones.
That's big.
You know, that's one of the things you mentioned, Julie, and the worst thing you can do is give that adrenaline shot to the meat.
Yes.
Right before they die,
Yep.
And you'll taste that in the meat.
Yep.
It's I can't even describe it. It's not like it's almost like a gamey taste, but it's it's almost a sour or vinegary taste to the meat. So you guys make sure that you're singing lullabies to the cows as you're sending them out.
They usually harvest them first thing in the morning. He comes to us.
Yeah.
He comes here, so
I go give them some hay.
We don't have any transport thing.
Sure.
They eat a regular diet. They have a great life, and then they become. I guess you change from muscle to meat.
Yeah.
In a few minutes, and they become great steak.
Right, great steak, and you can promise them you get to live in our living room then for the rest of your life.
That's right. Some of them just have a really pretty hide, and you can't let it go.
And you know what I appreciate about the cows here is that everything's used. There's no waste. Not on the meat, not on the horns, not on the hide. You know, I can remember during processing the deer in Wisconsin, my grandfather was a stickler about that.
Right.
You know, we process the hide, we make gloves, we make you know, coats, we use the antlers. You know, every scrap of meat is used, and so it's very, very important. And I think you guys are real conscious about that here too. Is the idea that there's nothing that's going to waste.
Right, yeah, you try the best you can.
Because the dogs have to eat too.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Bones are good.
Well, you guys, this has been a pleasure talking with you today.
Thank you.
And having you on Homespun, and it was a great great running into you up at Cowboy Merle's and
yes,
and
at
Beer
the Arena
Goods.
Barbecue.
Yes, at the Arena Barbecue. I don't know about you, but that It's Not Your Mama's mac and cheese.
That's pretty tasty.
Oh gosh, I find myself craving it about Wednesday.
Yeah.
Before I have to get in there on Friday and get my my fix. Yeah. So, and you guys help and volunteer up there to help them out, and
yep, when the dishes are stacked high,
They're great neighbors.
They're just good neighbors. We share a irrigation ditch and system together. It's just good.
And those of you that are tuning into Homespun, this is what we encounter here in Platte County. It's called Wyoming friendly. Everybody just helps one another out. No strings attached. And that's what I love about this community, and what I love about people like this. So thank you guys for being on Homespun today.
Thank you very much.
Best of luck at the state fair. You're taking 3 of the Longhorns up there, and and hopefully they'll show well, and you'll come home with some ribbons to hang next to the pelts.
We have one who in 2010 was a grand champion, so we're taking her to see how she's aged 10 years later. I don't know.
That's a great
that's why
idea.
we're taking her, because she's 10, because she did well.
She'll hold her status or not, but we're curious to see.
I think, you know, one little end note here is that your 19-year-old still still having calves.
Yes.
Yep.
It's just amazing to see how
Longevity's
steady she is and calm she is, and
her udder's still nice.
Yeah.
She has a great calf.
It's incredible. Well, I know you guys have work to do, so I'm not going to take up any more of your time. Thank you so much, guys.
Hey, you're welcome.
We laugh together when my heart is glad. We cry together when I'm sad. We share memories of long ago, of good times and bad. I met him on a summer's day, an afternoon in July. We've been walking hand in hand since then, my Lord and I. My Lord and I, my Lord and I. One day we'll see each other face to face, my Lord and I. There came a time in this walk of life when I lost my way. I fell so hard I nearly lost my mind. What a price to pay. I thought I'd lost the call to serve my Savior. I felt the two of us were through. But in my darkest hour he stood beside me, faithful and true. My Lord and I, my Lord and I. One day we'll meet each other face to face, my Lord and I. there's one more chapter I can't wait to tell you about my Lord and I. He promised me he's gonna build a mansion way up in the sky. He'll introduce me to his loving Father, the one who makes all things new. What a reunion, one big happy family. Will you be there too? My Lord and I, my Lord and I. One day we'll see each other face to face, my Lord and I. My Lord and I, my Lord and I. One day we'll see each other face to face, my Lord and I. I'm so secure, you're here with me. You stay the same, your love remains here in my heart, so close I believe. You're holding me now, in your hands I belong. You'll never let me go, so close I believe. You're holding me now, in your hands I belong. You'll never let me go. You'll never let me go. You gave your life and your endless love. You set me free and you showed the way. Now I am found so close I believe. You're holding me now, in your arms I belong. You'll never let me go, so close I believe. You're holding me now, in your hands I belong. You'll never let me go. You'll never let me go. All along you
against the water. Now I'm waiting, if you please. We've longed to see the roses, never felt those thorns. We bought our pretty crowns, but never paid the price. Find me in the river, find me there. Find me on my knees with my soul laid bare. Even though you're gone and I'm cracked and dry, find me in the river. I'm waiting here. Find me in the river. Find me on my knees. I've walked against the water. Now I'm waiting, if you please. We didn't count on suffering. We didn't count on pain. The blessings in the valley, and in the river will I wait. Find me in the river, find me there. Find me on my knees with my soul laid bare. Even though you're gone, I'm cracked and dry. Find me in the river. I'm waiting here. Find me in the river, find me there. Find me on my knees with my soul laid bare. Even though you're gone and I'm cracked and dry, find me in the river. I'm